1019 KINK. Independent, Portland.
Do you want me vertical or horizontal? Would you rather? Does it matter?
Probably horizontal. Yeah, if you could go horizontal.
Cool.
Okay. I didn't really. No, go back in. Yeah, I don't see you now.
Okay, I'm back. Am I back?
Oh yeah, that looks good. That looks great.
There you go. How are you? How you doing, man?
Doing fine. Fine. Thanks so much for joining me. You're probably sick of hearing about your blonde hair, but I am digging the blonde hair.
Thanks, man. Just
You gonna keep it?
trying to match you.
Yeah, well, mine's silver.
That's what I'm working towards.
Awesome. Well, Dan, you're probably sick of the question. We all are, but how are you doing?
I actually can't answer that question anymore because it sounds like it sounds like a joke. I'm doing okay, thank you. A weird combination of the common anxieties of this year, and also because of them feeling, very fortunate in a lot of ways. But yeah, sort of appreciative of being healthy and the people around me being healthy, and and all of those things. How about you?
That question doesn't bother me so much. What bothers me is when it's a Thursday or Friday, someone asking me, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" Like, what do you think I'm doing?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, I know. Dude, London's just gone back into the UK. Well, a lot of the UK has just gone back into varying degrees of lockdown. So, that was tonight is essentially the last vaguely normal, or whatever the new version of normal is, night before tomorrow morning going into a much stricter lockdown. So we're going to be doing our best to enjoy our rule of six for the last night in a while. But yeah, staring down the barrel of a lot more time in here.
Well, speaking of the lockdown, Dan, many artists have found it difficult to find their creative stride during this period, but not you. You're putting out new music. I love that. How are you able to do this?
Well, a combination of things. I think we'd actually started a bunch of it before lockdown happened. So we sort of had a bit of a head start. And this year for us was always going to be a quiet year at home in the studio. Because usually we find ways to be creative in and amongst touring and, set up a studio backstage or on the bus or whatever. And so I guess for us, the point of difference this year was going into it and not having any distractions. And then, obviously the world flipped upside down. But I struggled at the beginning to be creative when lockdowns began, and there were obviously much bigger things going on. But as it's gone on, I found that just having a bit of balance, juggling songwriting by myself with other people, it's been a really lovely way to be in contact with other people and other creatives, maybe via Zoom or whatever. I've loved it, and I'm hugely grateful for it as well, because lots of my friends who've lost their jobs or aren't able to work, that's a massive hole in their life, so for me it's been something I've been really grateful for and have really enjoyed as a kind of as a route of escape, if that makes sense.
So Dan, I'm curious, how does it work? So for the two most recent singles, What You Gonna Do, of course, with Graham Coxon from Bloor, and then now Survivin, how do you make it work? Does everybody record their parts individually and send it to you, or do you go into a studio masked up together? How does it work?
A variety of ways. We were lucky with What You're Gonna Do. We'd track the drums. Like Woody had come to the studio and tracked the drums before lockdown happened, but then Charlie, who did a lot of the guitars, he did them at where he lives and sent them in. He's got a studio at home, but he lives like a few hours away, and so that was like that. And then we sent the track to Graham and spoke to him about it, but didn't ever get to be in the same room, which is kind of mad, particularly given that song for us is kind of like our old school rock and roll moment. And so to have done that in the most modern digital way feels odd, but I guess it's fitting for 2020, isn't it? And also, I guess we were kind of banking on the fact that at the beginning of lockdown, you knew that no one really was busy, and if they didn't want to do something, no was the only way to say no, because it's like, you can't pretend you're on tour, you can't pretend you're like you've got other things on. I know you're home bored out of your mind. So I guess we played that card with Graham, and luckily he was really into the song and was really up for being on it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's been really interesting, considering that, you know, we're a group that generally do everything, you know, the 4 or 5 of us in one room together. And it's always been quite a kind of like enclosed, intimate, creative environment. It's been really interesting this year, you know, reaching out to other people. And, you know, we've done bits of recording separately, we've done stuff together, you know, more recently when we've been rehearsing and, you know, having to follow the same workplace guidelines and rules as everybody else, and try, you know, but it's confusing. At the beginning of, you know, in the middle of the summer, I was asked to take part in a sort of research study that was being done for singers and brass players as to like how spreadable we were with our spit and our singing. And I was pleased to find out that apparently I'm not a super spreader when I sing, which is good, I think.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah, no, it's been interesting. I mean, I guess a sort of a blessing of the studio naturally being, you know, particularly when it comes to doing vocals, you're literally in a different room to the other people. So, you know, we were able to, you know, to kind of safely record and get on with it. And you know, as with our band, like I've always begun a lot of the songs like on my laptop and started producing at home. So it's I guess just the way that we're set up and the way we've always worked is kind of conducive to this.
Dan, I so respect the few artists that are putting out new music right now, because I guess the safe bet would be to wait till a vaccine, then you put your music out and you go on tour to support the album or the singles, but you're putting music out now. Why do you think it's important to go ahead and release these singles as you have?
Well, I think for us, it was really important creatively to sort of break away from the traditional touring cycle model of how things have been done. I think for our sanity, we really wanted to do that anyway. But I think just generally this year has shown everyone how important, you know, escapism, how important distraction, how important music, culture, the arts, TV, film, books, these things that take us out of our own minds and these things that take us away from, you know, the room or the house or the flat or the apartment that you live in, they are more vital now than they've ever been, ever. And I think this year has shown us that. And I don't know about in the US, but here in the UK, our arts are really not being supported very well by the government. And it's really problematic, because you would have thought that if anything, this year and these circumstances would have shown people how important, you know, in the same way that getting outside and do some exercise, having things to watch and listen to, and, you know, ways to escape your life for a couple of hours. You know, so for me, I felt like with this music, I loved making it. It was such an amazing excuse to be in touch with all of our friends and new people, and, you know, and to have a common kind of aim and goal, and make the videos with this crazy, brilliant animated genius called Reza from Iran, you know, to be able to have these new creative relationships and do something in a year that's felt so kind of restricting. But mainly, you know, it was, the reason for putting them out was like, hopefully our fans, other people, whoever, it gives just a little bit of distraction, you know, a little bit of escapism. And hopefully for some people has the same catharsis as it had for us to make, you know, to make these things. So. We're
loving the music here in Portland. You spoke about getting out of your surroundings. I saw on Twitter that you recently took a trip to northern Scotland. Is it amazing how just a short change of scenery can be so impactful? It's just so welcome.
Dude, it's particularly now. I mean, I think as a band that have toured pretty relentlessly for, you know, 7+ years, we definitely took the ease of travel for granted in such a, you know, in such a ridiculous way that, you know, for many reasons, you know, whatever, carbon footprint, etc., is like, was not okay. Yeah, I think just being in one place, being able to go, particularly I live in London, you know, I live in the city, I always have, and just being out and about in a wide space, you know, particularly northern Scotland is so like rugged, and the coasts are so dramatic, and the waves are crashing and the cliffs are crumbling, you know, it couldn't really feel further from where we've been. And yeah, it was amazing. It's such a like reset, isn't it? It's such a mental like a necessity. So I loved it. Have you been able to escape at all?
Not too much. I'm just trying to be super vigilant about staying safe. You know, just getting in the car with the dogs and going for a ride, you know, in Oregon wine country has been helpful to me. Yeah,
no, I bet. Yeah. I mean, and it's all, you know, this year is all about trying to do the things to keep yourself sane whilst not, you know, whilst being as respectful and safe as possible, and blah blah blah. But that's, I guess, for us, we're lucky in the UK. You can just you know, you can take a big old drive for a long time north and you know, and get to Scotland. But I imagine around there it's beautiful. So I hope
we had wildfires this summer and we've had lots of protests in the streets, but other than that, it's been beautiful.
Dude, yeah, I know. It's been a wild year.
Dan, before I let you go, I want to talk about the online film club you started to help entertain fans. And you got some big names involved. Tell us about that.
Well, it just came from, I think, that sort of panicky sense at the beginning of all of this. I think everybody in their own way wanted to feel like they were being useful or helpful or I don't know. And, you know, some better than others. I found, you know, both doing stuff in my community, but then also the community that we've, you know, managed to be part of with our fans and film fans around the world. We just thought it would be a nice, fun thing to have a weekly film in a different country, which allowed us collectively to travel, you know, in our minds to a different place. And we tried to pick films that people might not have seen that would be positive and distracting and kind of conversation worthy. And it was really fun. You know, it was about, again, using the same thing I mentioned earlier with Graham, knowing that most filmmakers were who are all probably people who want to be busy all the time, were temporarily locked down, temporarily, you know, everyone had the same fears and concerns. And so, we just reached out to loads of people, some of whom we knew, loads of whom we didn't. And it was just a really nice way to put this film up there. We'd watch it, our fans would watch it, film fans would watch it, and then everyone would submit questions, which I would go through, like hundreds and hundreds of questions, and find the ones I thought were most interesting, and then put them to the filmmaker. And sometimes it was actors, sometimes it was cinematographers, and it was animators, and it was directors and screenwriters. You know, it was, and we were very lucky with the people we managed to reach. But yeah, for me as a film nerd, it was like incredible. I couldn't have dreamed, you know, the people that we got to speak to. And but you know, the main thing was about just trying to do a thing to anchor our week and give a sense of routine and hopefully foster a community, because loads of people this year have been super lonely and, you know, and really isolated. And we just wanted to do something that was kind of fun and engaging, and it was really great. I mean, dude, I have a newfound respect for anyone who does what you do or presents or interviews or anything like that, because it was, not that I ever thought I'd be good at it, but it's hard.
Well, I want to thank you for a recommendation because of your film club. I watched The Hunt for the Wilder People, the Sam Neill. Oh, what a fun, funny movie.
Isn't it brilliant? It's so, like, I think that that real specific New Zealand sensibility, the kind of dry, clipped humor, it's brilliant. It's sad, it's funny, it's quirky, it's weird. It's all of Taika Waititi's films are kind of like that, and they strike that tone, and it's really special film. I'm glad you liked it.
Dan Smith, I know you have things to do. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe. Can't wait to see you in Portland, Oregon someday soon, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll stay safe. Yeah, likewise. Look after yourself, and thanks so much for your time, man. It's really good to see you.
Take care. See you.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Dan. Awesome.
All the best, dude.
You too.
Cheers, dude. See you later.